Hi everybody, long time no see. I'm back today with a what I've read recently video. Um, it's been like a month and a half since we've chatted, and I've read quite a few books since then. Therefore, this video is going to be split into two parts, so welcome to part one. I've got 7 books to talk about in this part. All of these were read in September. So it's like kind of a September wrap up, but like not quite because I read more books than this in September. Anyway, just what I've read recently since the last time we spoke. So let's just go ahead and dive right on in. The first book I read was Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. This was my first C.S. Lewis book, if you can believe it. My mom was shocked when I said that. And it is a retelling of a classical Greek Roman myth. Actually, it's kind of sad. Psyche's sister, Orual. I do feel bad that I forgot that. It's been a long time. So this book, like I said, is a classic Greek retelling, Greek myth retelling. I really liked it. It being my first Lewis was kind of strange. I kind of wish this wasn't my first Lewis book, but that's okay. I thought the writing was good. It wasn't my favorite. I did feel like kind of a disconnect between me and the main character, and I'm not sure if that was because of the writing or not. Compared to the other Greek myths, retellings of Greek myths I've read, it did feel very, how do I say this? I could tell it was written by a man. So if that gives any insight into what I feel like it would have been, there would have been a different interpretation if it had been written by a woman, which is interesting. Right now I'm in a stories retold class, and all we talk about, or all we've studied for the past 2.5 months, are classic myths and their retellings. And so that's like just something I've had a lot in my brain. And so it did make me feel, I don't know, I feel like if I hadn't had taken that class, I might have enjoyed it more, but because I've learned how to like think more critically about retellings, my opinions reflect that. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I still enjoyed it. I don't think I ever cried, which says something. Also, it's been a long time since I read this, so I don't really know what I'm talking about, but 4 out of 5, I liked it. I would reread it again. Okay, next book was the first ebook, is the first ebook I have to talk about, and that is Graceling by Kristen Cashore. I was really pleasantly shocked by this book. I got it from the library, and I didn't really know anything. I had seen like some things on TikTok, and people were like, this is my favorite book and it's not talked about enough, or enemies to lovers recommendations, and oh my gosh, I absolutely loved this book. Gave it a 5 out of 5, which is really shocking. It shocked me. I just fell in love with the characters, and it follows a girl who is an assassin for this king, and it's her story as she kind of finds her own way, and she meets some people along the way, and it's really good. The writing was really, I just thought it was phenomenal. For a complex fantasy world, the world building was so good, but it wasn't ever info dumpy. It didn't feel like a lot of information. It was just laid out so beautifully and seamlessly that the world just rose up around me and I didn't have to do like a lot of wondering, which I like when, and I like that. I think good world building is when they're able to create a world without it being too confusing or complicated. And yes, you want some mystery, but like it's not puzzling to envision or understand the world. And I just think she did a great job. And I love the characters. I sobbed. I have a new favorite, OTP. I just loved everything about it, really. So I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was so good. Okay, next book I read was Musoi's Story, the autobiography of a Tokugawa samurai by Katsu Kokichi. I had to read this for my modern Asia history class, and so that's why it's on here. It's tabbed. I marked it up, gave it a 2 out of 5. Normally I wouldn't rate something like this, but I felt like it needed a rating. I actually had high hopes going into this because, you know, reading about a samurai's life, it's interesting. I hated it. I didn't hate it. 2 out of 5. I didn't hate it. I did hate the main character, and because it's an autobiography, you know, I kind of hated the majority of what he said. He just felt like a very unreliable narrator, and I thought he was a pathological liar. And I even said this in class. I was like, I did not believe a word this man said. I did get like a 95 on the essay I had to write on it, so there is that. I don't know. There was a lot of nothing that happened, but like I did learn some things, and like it was still interesting to learn about a samurai who actually was a samurai, and kind of compare that to the misconceptions around samurai and how they're portrayed in popular culture. So that was interesting. I don't really know. I will never read this again. I'm keeping it until the end of the semester. Then I'll take all the tabs out, and then I'll be donating it. And they can read all of my notes about like how I was like, what is this man doing? There's that. Okay. Next part. I mentioned, I think, really briefly in my August wrap up. I reread the Hunger Games trilogy. I know, right? I had been told they were being put on Hulu, and I really wanted to rewatch all the movies, so I was like, I might as well rewatch or reread the Hunger Games. It had been maybe 5 or 6, at least 5, if not 6 or 7 years since I read the Hunger Games. I think this is my 3rd time rereading all of them, or reading all of them, so my 2nd reread. I did not remember a lot at all, really, any of the specifics. So let's talk about the Hunger Games first. This is actually my new favorite book in this trilogy. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Before I reread them, I thought Mockingjay was my favorite and Catching Fire was my least favorite. It has changed now. This book, I mean, I feel like we've all read it at this point, or at least seen the movies. I just feel like it still holds up. World building's good. It's interesting. It's atmospheric. Love my man Peta. He has been my man since 5th grade, and he continues to be my man. I did find it shocking, like, Katniss was 16. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't remember that. So that was kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my reread. I cried when a certain someone died. Yeah, I really like it. The first one's my favorite. Okay, before we get into Catching Fire and Mockingjay, I have to briefly mention the last ebook featured in this, or no. Yeah, the last ebook featured in this. I'm like trying to decide where to split the list up in this video, and that is Fire by Kristen Cashore. This is the 2nd book in the graceling world. It follows a whole new set of characters in a different part of the world. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I still really, really enjoyed it. Like, it's probably more towards a 4.75. The writing did feel a bit more complicated. I feel like it lost a little bit of something. It definitely changed. Just because the politics in the world was a bit more complicated. And the magic was a bit more complicated, so the writing wasn't as seamless. The pacing, I remember I was like, towards the beginning, I was like, nothing's happening. But then once stuff started happening, it took off. Got a new favorite ship. One of the reasons why I didn't give it a 5 was because of an issue I saw later touched upon in some Goodreads reviews and on Tumblr. It like kind of caught my attention as I was reading it, but definitely after. There are some weird age gaps. There is an age gap between the main character and her love interest, but like that one didn't really bother me, so to say, but there is a really big age gap towards like between a 16-year-old and like 30-year-old, 28. And like the relationship wasn't an integral part of the story, but it definitely was condoned and like hinted at. And there were also some weird power dynamics there, and it made me uncomfortable when I read it, and I was like, wait a minute, are they gonna get together? Because that's kind of weird. And I know it made other people uncomfortable too, so that's part I was like, I don't know about that. I liked this one for kind of different reasons. I feel like the main character of this one had a bit more, like there were different themes. So like she was dealing with grief and like struggling with, they both struggled with who they were, but like struggling with if she wanted to conform to society's perceptions of who she was and distinguishing between beast and human. And there were just a lot more different themes, and I still really enjoyed it. I cried. I loved it. It was really good. 4.5 out of 5. Okay. So now on to Catching Fire. This is now my second favorite book in the trilogy. It literally goes in order, basically. I know a lot of people say this one's their favorite. I just feel like it was missing some of the atmosphere of the first one. And in this one, you have like the second games doesn't really start until like halfway through. So that first part, I was bored. I was like, okay, let's get them in the arena already. You know, where's the action? And while I appreciate that it was to like develop some character and show some things, I feel like it could have skipped through that. Did love all of the Katniss and Peeta scenes we got. I hate Gale. So yeah, it got a 4 out of 5. So it is the best movie though. I will admit it is the best movie. So, okay. Last book I'm going to be talking about in this part of my What I've Read Recently video is Mockingjay, surprise, surprise. My new least favorite. Again, lost even more atmosphere. Again, a lot of nothing happened, and then like the last 20% there was a lot that happened, and I just feel like it could have been paced better. I'm still mad over a certain someone who dies. I cried really hard too at 3 deaths actually. Yeah, and also the whole Peeta thing, I just wish he was in it more, and that maybe was handled a bit differently. Katniss kind of made me mad at some certain points, but that's part of who she is, you know, they're supposed to have flaws. I will say it surprised me at the end, the last death really took me by surprise. I didn't think I would cry at that one, and it really hit me where it hurt. The scene between Katniss and the cat. Cried during the book, cried watching the movie. I was like sobbing, like into my squishmallow, like full on sobbing. That thing was wet. So that surprised me. I do wish we had gotten like a little bit more in the epilogue, to try to bridge the gap between where she was, or maybe it was before the prologue, like the last chapter, to bridge the gap between where she was after that death and then like where the story left off. Like I wish there was just more time spent on like her relationship with Peeta and how they got to the place where they ended. So I gave it a 4 out of 5. I still really loved rereading them. I need to do that more. I really want to reread a lot of the series that it's been a long time since I've read them. I'll keep those forever. I'm sorry about like the bad covers. In 5th grade I lost, or I may have even thrown away, the dust jackets. So that's why they're like that. You know, it's really personal, but like it's like a national treasure in my eyes. So yeah, those were the 7 books in this half. Stay tuned for a lot more, like 8 in the next video, and I'm have some biggies to talk about. So I'll see you guys then. Peace out. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, maybe, possibly. Peace out. Goodbye. In the video.